Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Smoker Show, Season 2, Episode 16. Mr. Phil Basardo, how you doing?
How about that? Almost recovered. What about
Almost
you?
recovered.
Are you almost recovered?
I will tell you what, we are old. I have come to the conclusion this week. Even though our minds are not, our bodies definitely take time.
I think that's the only way that I'm going to say that I'm old. Okay, it's just the recovery time. Everyone else is doing pretty good. I'm not going to lie. Okay, but recovery time is cool. But I think also too that recovery time has a lot to do with So if anybody who and I'll do this for the live show too. There are people. I know there were a lot of people that joined. I know there were I didn't see a lot of people because I have to be honest with you, I couldn't see the two monitors in front of my face.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Let me just make sure that the intro. So anyway, sorry about that. Always something. Always something.
Always something. But I tell you what. No, the last Smoker Show, and I think even the last live show, there haven't been any technical glitches. So no, I compliment you on that.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know what happened there. It shouldn't be. It should. I think it was on loop for some reason. And although I'm sure in my main settings, as every show, I don't have it on loop. I have it on hold. But anyway, it's done.
Wait, are we okay right now?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Yeah, okay.
Getting a little bit audio.
So sorry about that. So what we were saying is that I said, Dimitri, are you fully recovered? Because I am. I would say 98% of the way there.
I'm not. I mean, it used to take me 3 hours to recover, and now I'm on day 3 from your birthday.
Yeah.
And I still have. I'm not 100% recovered. The first day, forget about it. I was in shambles. Second day started better. Today's my third day. It's a little bit. It's almost. I'm almost back to normal. Hopefully tonight.
Sunday, I rolled out of bed. I would say it was around 5 p.m. Because number one, I go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And I tried earlier, and just like everything was spinning. The head, it was bad. It was really bad. I was able to make it for Excedrin. I got Excedrin, but then I think around 6 or 7 o'clock, I found something to eat, but it was a disaster. It was a disaster. So what I said before was I know there were a lot of people that came in that hung out. Thank you to everybody. I'll thank everybody on the live show too. But if I didn't give you attention, if I didn't see you come in and talk to you,
he was rough.
I apologize.
He was rough. It was rough. Plus, it was difficult because it was a big Zoom. I'd say at some point we have 20 people in the Zoom room, so it's very, very difficult to see. And the more that you drink, those little boxes get smaller and smaller and smaller. But anyway, we had a lot of fun, and it was originally going to be for 2 hours. Right, we started around 8 o'clock. We're gonna stick around to about 10, 11 o'clock, and the next thing you know, it was like 5:30 in the morning. So
we were literally live for 9+ hours. How did that happen? What the hell did we talk about for 9+ hours? Think about that.
Well, mostly, you were hitting on every woman that came in.
No,
you're asking all of them who would they rather sleep with, you or me.
Oh, wow.
And just a lot of drink talk. But it was fun because people kept rotating. New people would come in, other people would come out. Bogan came in, Daniel came in, all these people that I had no idea were gonna jump in, and a lot of our friends as well too. So it was fun. I really, really enjoyed it. And it's been.
My brother was there too, right?
Your brother came in for a while, yeah, and then we completely ignored him, the poor fella. but anyway, it was a lot of fun, and given the circumstances of COVID and staying at home and all that, it was just an opportunity to just let loose for a little. I hadn't drank at all, to be honest. Maybe a glass of wine here, a glass of wine there with my dinner or something like that. But I haven't drank at all during this stretch. So it kind of hit me. I finished off a half a bottle of Johnny Walker Black, and then I broke into the gallon of 𝗬𝗟𝗪. So that was rough. That was rough, buddy, for me. Yeah. For me, that was rough.
Yeah, that is a lot for you. That is a lot.
And it has been. I had my daughter's birthday's today. My 14-year-old Lena. So we have her birthday, and then my anniversary was the 22nd. So it's just been like all these birthdays and all that, this month, and we haven't been able to really, celebrate. So it's been rough.
Yeah. I didn't know it was Lena's birthday today. Will you wish her a happy birthday for me?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, if you paid attention to Facebook and you see everybody, me and my wife have posted 15,000 pictures of her, but that's okay. I get it.
Yeah. Well, you know how I am with social media.
I know.
But I do. I got to get all of your birthdays, all your family's birthdays in my calendar.
Yes. Yeah, we get on to that afterwards. But as all good all these celebrations, I had 3 cars down. So you remember the Jeep Cherokee, which used to be my catering truck. I used to have that for Portofino's, and then when I sold the restaurant, I kept the Jeep. I had the wrap removed because it was wrapped, right? And then it was just kind of sitting in my driveway for a couple of years, and I was like, well, man, Maria's now learning how to drive. The other one's getting older. Let me get it, running. So I called the tow truck to come pick it up. As soon as I do that, Connie comes in with her car. Something's wrong with my car. I was like, what? She's like, it's not running right. It's not idling correctly and all that. So whoop, we take it to Ford, drop that off. As soon as we do that, I go back to get my car and the Mercedes. It won't start. The car won't start. So I call Mercedes. The good thing is we really ain't got nowhere to go. I mean, I have the motorcycle, and then I have the old man's Cadillac here. So, I mean, we had vehicles to travel around, but the Mercedes was dead battery. The Connie's Ford was some kind of a vacuum pump inside or whatever was now, where it was like $450 to fix that. Yep. Fix or repair daily. And then the Jeep, we haven't heard anything yet. It's been there for like 3 or 4 days, and this guy that works there is like a 19-year-old kid. Customer service is not what it used to be. I mean, he calls and just asks like these dumb questions. He's like, "What's wrong with the car?" And I'm like, dude, why would I bring my car to you if I knew what the fuck is wrong with the car, He's like, well, the battery's not working and we can't do the testing. I was like, well, there you go. First step, let's go ahead and change that battery, son, and then we can get on with the rest of the thing. It's just,
when it rains, it pours. Yeah. Look, do I look orange or do I look tan?
You look, well, I mean, you always look tan. So okay. I'm used to you, but compared to me, you look like orange. But that's because I'm very pasty. Anybody next to you looks pasty.
I think I look more tan than orange.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I'm bringing his video in from Zoom, and Zoom hasn't been very, very cooperative lately. No. But anyway, that's not the point. He looks good, no matter what resolution that we bring him in. By the way, the telephone lines are open: 215-383-5752. 215-383-5752. Press 1 when you hear the British lady speaking. If you want to join us, I have the queue all queued up. That way I can see that you want to participate with any questions or comments. I do want to mention something before we get started. I'm having an amazing vape day. And I think this is really good for us to talk about with new vapors and smokers that potentially might be turning to vapors, or maybe some of the older vapors that had forgotten. You're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days in vaping. But the majority of days are going to be good because you quit smoking, you're vaping, you're feeling good. The majority of days are going to be good. Yeah. And I'm having one of those days today where everything is amazing. The only thing I'm mad about is that I don't have 3 hands so I can vape 3 devices at the same time. That's the only thing I'm mad about, because everything that I have got set up, and I'll tell you what I have set up. I have the Aries. With a fresh build, I'm vaping mentholated Cool Citrus, the number 1 from the Dash Vapes line. I have a 24mm Zlide, and in here I have this DIY frozen pineapple orange. This is from Jennifer. We had it on the DIY show last time. Fantastic. Great liquid. And then in the Zenith Pro with a 1 ohm with an RDL vape, I have this high drip iced blood orange, which is really fantastic as well too with menthol. And all 3 of them are just tasting fantastic.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's funny because Dimitri actually said this to me before the show. He said, "I'm having a really good vape day," and I was literally going to tell him the same thing. It was just one of those days where it was time to change all my coils, right? And that's exactly what I did. I changed all my coils, and I built the 𝗃𝗽𝗄, which I'm going to I'll have a look at it. I'll do a review. I know it's been out there for a while, but it's a good little atomizer, and that's where I was today. Just everything tasted really, really good.
Yeah.
In this, and I believe this slide, I have Jennifer's the pina colada that she sent me that we talked about on the last show, the DIY show. In the slide tube, I have the #1 best-selling unsalted flavor watermelon peach.
No matter how drunk you were the other night, you got at least 7 plugs in for your watermelon peach.
All right, good.
Yeah,
good. And then in my Zenith Pro, I have Larry's Bloom. Thank you very much, Larry. I'm running out.
Larry's Bloom.
Larry's Bloomers.
There's nothing bloom about Larry. He's an 80-year-old perv. That's why there's nothing blooming about him. All right. So the reason why I bring it up is that a really good tip for new vapors would be have your safe zone vape. Okay. There will be days when you wake up as your collection grows and you're vaping on various stuff that nothing tastes good. It happens. It happens to all of us, whether it's vapor's tongue, whether it's one of your hidden from smoke all these years taste buds just suddenly decided to bloom. That's where blooming is definitely for whatever reason. It could be just your stuff is not. It's not working. Don't be discouraged. Don't give up, because that happens to all of us. Drink some some beverages with acidity like orange juice or lemonade or something like that. Sniff maybe some coffee beans. Brush your teeth and brush your tongue to go along with it, and then have that one setup where this is my safe setup. I know if I'm gonna put this Z coil with this liquid, I'm gonna it's gonna get me through the day. This is my safe vape, for example, for that day, until you figure out what's happening and go back and maybe clean your tanks, change your coil, rebuild your atomizer if you're into that stuff like that. It's just don't give up if you're having a bad vape day. It happens to everybody, even to us after all these years.
Now, this is my safe one, right? Because number one, it holds a gallon of e-liquid and it holds a gallon of charge too, right? Yeah. So as long as I have this set up and ready to go with a good clean coil, I know that this is going to be perfect for me every time I pick it up. And because of the battery life, because of the tank capacity, I know I can take this and go someplace and just not worry, not think about it, just enjoy myself. Not that we can go any place right now, but when we can go someplace, this is coming with me.
It's an interesting question for you. Are you allowed to use your boat? The 𝗃𝗽𝗲 says over here in Fort Lauderdale, they have shut the ramps.
Yeah, no, the ramps are open, and my boat is docked behind the house too. So yes. As a matter of fact, Chris just got back with it. He took it out tonight, do a little fishing with his family.
All right. Yeah. So, anything else before we get started? We said it all.
Yeah, I see Joshua. Joshua, that's a great question for the live show. So let's do that on the live show. Make sure you join us for that. And 𝘃𝗽𝗲, the nicotine cures COVID. We talked about that on the live show. We're going to do it again when on the next live show next Tuesday.
Yeah, I think that curing COVID, I think it's a little bit premature to be talking about this. And this is the reason why I don't want to talk about it today on the show. But I will tell you that there's some studies going on in France, in Greece, and a couple of the European countries. I am in very close communication with Dr. Fasalinos and other scientists in Europe, including France, that as soon as we get some concrete information, I think it's unfair for us, just like the anti-tobacco and the anti-vaping zealots do, I think it's unfair for us to say statements like, it helps, it cures, it does this, and it does that with COVID. There might be some properties of nicotine that have shielded or maybe boosted the immune system where we don't contract COVID. But then again, I know vapors that have it or have caught it and have recovered. Okay, so I would like I think that the proper thing for us to do, if you want, YouTubers or whatever you want to call us, I think the proper thing to do is to use this science. And what we've always tried to do on the Smoker Show is use accurate science that we can back to give you And I just don't think that we're there yet as far as this is concerned.
So basically, unlike mainstream media, we're trying not to be that.
Correct. Yes. Yes. We try not to do panic. What do we call it?
Panic porn.
Panic porn. We try to do scientific-based porn, and I think it's very, very important, especially in this given time, that we're very, very accurate. Could there be something there? Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Let's at least ask this question to you. Let's say there is something there. All right. Whether it be the nicotine or whether it be the vaporized propylene glycol. Let's say there is something there. Do you think we'd ever really know about it? Do you think it would ever get talked about?
I think it would not be talked about here in the United States, but it would definitely be talked internationally. Vice today picked up the story. He talked to, I got him in touch with Dr. F. So Vice, Garcia, he's a great reporter. He does his best, but it's Vice. It's never going to see the light of day. I mean, I'm just being honest with you guys. Don't send me any hate mail. I'm just being brutally honest with you. Do you think ever in the history of the United States we're going to hear that nicotine benefits something? No, it's just not going to happen. It's just there's so many groups that are set up to be anti-nicotine, anti-vaping, and anti-smoking that profit from it, that it's never going to happen.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the sick part about it. That's just, even if it worked, even if it prevented death, it still wouldn't be supported.
Yeah. And there's a great comment from Chan. What if it's the tar? What if it's not the nicotine? What if it's the smoke? Right? I mean, what if it's the paper? Sure. I mean, I don't know. I just don't know. And until we get more of this data out and data, concrete data that we can actually say without a doubt this is what the way, then I don't think that we should be spreading it as well. I definitely recommend 110% for you not to go out there on Twitter or on social media and say that vaping cures COVID, or because I'm vaping PG, I'm going to be immune to that, because that's completely inaccurate. And I think it's also criminal if somebody does get sick from it. All right, so let's move ahead. What we're gonna do today, Phil? Let's talk about first what we're gonna do.
What we're gonna do right here is go way back into time. Remember, you know what that's from?
DJ Miami.
So yeah, what?
DJ Miami.
Yeah. Well, all right. So what we're gonna do here, and I had this idea a while ago, and I was gonna do a standalone video of me watching myself do the Ecig Tech video that I did. I think it was 2012. I think it was back in 2012 when I did that video. And I said, you know what? This would be perfect. This would be perfect for the Smoker Show, right? Because number one, it gives Dimitri an opportunity to make fun of me as we go along with this, right? And it gives us an opportunity to share with you electronic cigarette tech where we were in 2012, right?
Yes.
And how it either still relates today or it needs to be changed and updated today. And I thought this was the perfect place to do it rather than do it in a standalone video. Now, in addition to that video is about a half an hour. So it's going to be like going through the video, stopping the video, talking a little bit, going through the video, explaining some stuff, maybe fast forwarding, but that's what we're going to do. And then I know Dimitri has a box of some retro gear that he just ordered. He's going to open up that box live. And I've got some retro stuff here too that I might actually demonstrate. Okay?
I also was able to find an atomizer that never saw the light of day. I think it was a great concept. I think it just kind of shows you this atomizer was from 2015. This is at the time that me and Phil did a lot of R&D work for 𝗃𝗽𝗲 Tech, and it was like a concept that we had discussed in China. We actually got the prototype in our hands, and I think it never made the light of day. I don't know why it didn't make the light of day. I think the 𝗀𝗵𝗲 culture was just moving so fast. And of course, the end result ended up being this just huge atomizer. But I was able to find it today, brand new. It's never been built. I'm just going to show it to you today. And who knows? Maybe somebody will take this idea and make something out of it. So that would be really, really cool. And yes, fluid vapor, now called 𝗫𝗃 vapors. I don't know why they changed the name.
𝗫𝗃?
That's exactly what it is. 𝗫𝗃 Vape Shop from Southampton, New York. They were running a special. Rob has been a friend of mine since 2011 in this industry. I just happened to catch his Facebook where he says we're making all these retro boxes and we're putting all this older gear inside. It's gonna be like $150 worth of stuff for $35, and you could have like even a limited edition mod. Like, I have a cyborg. It's in my retro collection, but he says you might get a cyborg. You might get one of these limited edition mods with it as well too, back from the day. So I was like, I'm all about mystery boxes. Like I watch this Russian hacker, whatever, crazy Russian hacker religiously with these boxes. So I was like, that's a great opportunity. So I ordered a box. I haven't opened. It's been sitting here since yesterday. And I was just like, want to open it up. But we'll do that live because I wanted to share it with you. But
let's give a quick shout out to Mr. Battery Mooch. Hello and welcome to the show. And
welcome,
to
Mooch.
ST Vapes. Hello, miss you, brother.
Hey Scott, I hope everybody's safe, buddy.
Been around a lot longer than 8 years. I don't know who said that. Slim Dan says vaping has been around for 8 years? No, longer.
It's
than
not.
That. Really...
Officially, vaping was invented in 2003. The first electronic cigarettes coming from China here in America were in 2007. The first electronic cigarettes in 2007. 2009, we saw branded OEM product, meaning companies like Smoking Everywhere that were taking their brand, putting it on these products that were coming from China. And then by 2011, 2012, we started seeing the industry become more mainstream and shops opening up, brick and mortar stores opening up. All right. Now, all the questions will be collected from Bill Tarling because I'm going to be going back and forth through various screens, so I might miss something. Bill will forward it to me. At any given time, you want to call in 215-383-5752. I would probably wait until this segment is over. That way we can spend some time with you on the phone. And without further ado, right, Phil?
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to be able to hear me. If I want to stop the video, I can say, stop.
Yes.
Is that what you want me to say? Stop?
Yes, I want you to say stop.
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 Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Go.
All right, here we go.
Can I taste your juice?
Hey folks, 𝗵𝗲 and welcome to the year.
Hold on, that's loud. By the way, can I just say something?
I wanted to say something.
Yes.
Do I not look 10 times better now than I did back then?
It looks like you ate all the Ecig Tech in 2013 in this particular video. That's what I was gonna say. This is a great stop too as well. This is like you're praying. You're like, I hope I'll have some gabagool after this video. That's exactly.
Hey, look who's talking. I remember who looked even bigger than me back then.
I do.
So,
hey, let me tell you something. I ain't not gonna lie to you. I thought that flatten the curve was fatten the curve because I've gained like 10 pounds. This shit. This is fucking bullshit. All right, here we go. Moving along.
D13. Happy New Year, everybody. So my evening was spent quietly last night with some friends. Very little drinking. Thank you.
You can't do it yet.
Thank you. When are we doing it? Look, it's the shot cam. The shot cam. All right.
Drink it.
Drink it. Drink it now. Turn the light on.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, stop.
Yeah, hold on. I got it. I'm sorry. I was actually doing something when you said stop. My hands were all right.
No, that's okay. But it reminds me of my birthday party, and there we are drinking again.
I know, right?
And you know what? That just soured my stomach totally. Just seeing that shot.
But one thing is for sure, that tech does not change. 𝗀𝗻𝗃 remains the same.
No, look at that. Look at how much my cheeks are nowhere near.
No, you look so good. You look great.
Okay.
You're great.
All right, go ahead. Carry on.
And now, let's get back into the game. My vape of choice last night was a EA or Electric Angel mod from Finland with an 18650, kicked with a 𝗃𝗽𝗏 trap tank, Bogue, Cartomizer, and some 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 from Good Life Vapor.
How ironic is it that I'm using a 𝗃𝗽𝗏? I did not watch this video in preparation for this that we're doing tonight, and it's crazy that I'm using a 𝗃𝗽𝗏 carto tank.
Yeah, and if you think about that setup that you have, I mean, that's a pretty impressive setup for the time, right? Mm-hmm. But you know, I think it's very, very important for everybody to understand is that no matter what you see in this video, the concept is the same. You're pressing a button with your pinky. You're giving power to a coil that sits on top of your device that is actually vaporizing e-liquid and making delicious, flavorful clouds in your mouth that I paused on.
Just a terrific vape there. So, I am not going to start off the new year with a review. Instead, I'm going to start the new year off with a video that's been requested of me a whole bunch of times, kind of an e-cig primer. Okay, because I think, you know, as we evolve as vapors, as we gain knowledge and experience with vaping, it's really important for us to understand that right now, somebody is trying an electronic cigarette for the very first time, and they have no idea what resistance is, what variable voltage is, what wattage is, mean versus RMS. They don't understand this. And I think it's important for us who have experience to share our knowledge and our experience with these people who are just getting started with vaping, to support them stay off of traditional tobacco cigarettes. So that is my goal.
Interesting, though, that our goals have not changed, right? I mean, even back then, we're still talking about helping people not smoke anymore, right? We're talking about, I mean, in reality, that video reflects why we do the Smoker Show, right? Because somebody somewhere is starting electronic cigarettes for the first time right now, and they have no idea. No, like, you know, granted, if you're starting with like a little simple pod, you would a pre-filled pod, right? Okay, it's easy, right? But when you get into the mods and the settings and the device and the menus and everything, think how complicated that is for people.
Yeah.
So that's why we do a show like this.
Yeah, can you just do me a favor? Can you just pull the mic a little bit closer to you, because I think it's like pushed a little bit away from you.
Did it push away from
Yeah, just a tad. Because it just went, because I'm looking at the lights and your lights just went down for a little bit. That's why.
Okay. How's this? Is this better?
That's perfect. That's
okay.
You're balanced with me as well too. All right, here we go.
We want to be balanced.
Here we go.
So it doesn't matter if your electronic cigarette or your PV, your personal vaporizer, looks like this, or maybe something like that, or something like this, okay, or this, or even something like this. A complete electronic cigarette is made up of the same basic parts, okay? So it's made up of some kind of a power supply, all right, and some kind of a heating element that takes power from the power supply and heats up, and then some kind of a juice delivery system that takes your e-liquid, gets it to that heating coil, and vaporizes it. And that it's basically cooking it, okay? So that vapor is the vapor that we take in. It delivers our nicotine. It delivers our flavor. I'm not going to talk about the different types of e-liquids in this video, just mostly the hardware and the tech behind vaping. So these power supplies, or these batteries, come in many different shapes and sizes, and some of them are removable. Okay, they have different voltages, they have different milliamp hours or the capacity, different battery chemistries, and I'm not going to talk too much about that, okay? Just know that there is some kind of a power supply that drives that heating coil, makes that heating coil get hot, and vaporizes your e-liquid. Now, as vapors or users of electronic cigarettes, we have a choice of what we want to screw onto that power supply to use to vape off of, okay? One of the first things that came out was the Atomizer, all right? It's a very simple device. It has a heating coil in it, very little wicking material, only holds a few drops of e-liquid. Most people today, they use atomizers to drip into, meaning they just drip their juice, they take a couple drags, when it dries out, they drip some more. All right, so your atomizers come...
So... You know that's an HH357, probably.
Yes.
Right? I mean, the HH357 was a widely used, like it was the shiznit back then, right?
Yep.
I know Dimitri had a bunch of them. I think Dimitri used them, right? Because you drip.
All the time,
right? So obviously, I mean, think about where we are now compared to where we were then when it comes to dripping atomizers, right? And interesting too that then a dripping atomizer was also pre-built. Now just about all the dripping atomizers that you're going to find are going to be you have to make them, right? Rebuildable dripping atomizers, RDAs. All right, go ahead, D.
Correct. And you know, it's funny because I have one.
Yeah, there it is.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I wish I had access to all my Rochester stuff, because that's where all my retro stuff is. So when I need anything, like I have to have it shipped here, but there it is.
Yeah, a lot of people gave me grief about it, but man, this is a delicious vape.
Absolutely.
Pre-assembled. Nowadays, there are lots of rebuildable atomizers, meaning that once the flavor starts to change or the coil burns out, these are designed so that you can replace the coil and wick in them. For beginners, I don't recommend these. But as you gain more experience in vaping, these are something that you might want to try out. So for now, we'll just talk about an atomizer. And atomizers come with different connections. I prefer the 510 connection. Most of the devices these days tend to use the 510 connection. There are other connections out there. There are connections that other people prefer over the 510. I like the 510 connection. It seems to be one of the more universal connections for electronic cigarettes these days.
Stop.
And I was going to pause it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is that it's interesting that in 2011, 2012, 2013, we were still talking about a universal. Like it was 510 was not standard at the time. That's what we're saying.
Back then it was like, are we going to go with VHS or are we going to go with beta?
Right.
Right. Or we didn't know.
Right? We didn't know. If you think about it now and how technology has advanced, I wish that 510 was not the standard. Of course, it made more sense at the time because we had these egos that had a 510 connection on them. We could move it from device to device. It was just an easier concept to get the 510 to work universally across all the devices, and now it's pretty much a standard. Very rarely will you see a proprietary connection in today's world, something like a Juul or something like that, where that pod only specifically fits into a device. But the connection is what actually gives the power to the tank or whatever that you're using on top of your device. It's very, very important. A lot of people don't understand how important that connection is. From it being dirty, from not making a connection, from not touching. It could affect your vape in a lot of ways, especially with some of the, not so much in today's market in 2020, but even in 2016, 2017, 2018, we had a lot of bad mods because China was just pumping out all these devices quickly, and there was a lot of them that had bad 510 threaded devices out there on the market. But I just find it really, really interesting that you say in this video that I prefer the 510. And if you had asked me at the time, I would say I prefer the 901 connection.
Yeah.
The outside threading. So it's basically just a kind of reverse 510. The actual threading is actually on the device, and then the atomizers themselves have the threading on the inside, and then you screw it completely. They just made a better connection, in my opinion, at the time.
And I think if you asked me today what my favorite connection would be, probably the P3 connection.
Yes, which never made it. Never made it.
Unfortunate.
To the market. All right.
Now, since we're talking about atomizers, we also have to talk about the Genesis-style atomizers, which is a little bit different from a standard atomizer. Genesis-style atomizers use a mesh wick that usually sits in a reservoir of juice and has the coil wrapped around this mesh wick, okay? So that's basically a Genesis-style atomizer. And unlike a atomizer like this,
Stop.
Gotcha.
So yeah, back then, really, that's what a Genesis atomizer was. When you talked about a Jenny, right? You talked about a roll of mesh stuck in the liquid that was supposed to wick it up, right? And that mesh was now think about this. The mesh was wrapped with the coil, right? The heating element, okay? Or the heating coil.
Yeah.
You've got metal touching metal.
Yeah.
And it was like people swear by this. I found it, if you got it right, it was good. But like keeping it right and keeping it stable was a very, very challenging thing. And like the shit that we had to do to that mesh to get it to a point where it wasn't conducting and it wasn't shorting the wire was ridiculous. We had to torch it. We had to do all kinds of crazy stuff, right?
It was a lot of work.
And now I would never use mesh again as a wick. Now I would just use cotton, right? But there are still you can still look at a different at atomizers and say that's still a Jenny, right? In reality, the Aries is a Genesis style atomizer. Yes. The wick goes down into the liquid, right?
Goes up.
It's not suction fed or anything like that. And it pulls the liquid up to the coil.
Yeah.
Right.
It's to me, the Genesis style atomizer, like one thing that I was always told at the time when they were very, very popular is like, once you try that flavor, and I did try it. Like it took me a while to get a good vape out of a Jenny because it's a very, very tedious process. But again, I will remind you that given that this video was in 2012, 2013, and now feel once again, the same thing. that you are talking about then, you're talking about now. Like, you are willing to drop one scale of flavor for the convenience of having something just stick it and go, right?
Absolutely.
So it's just, again, interesting to see that some things
It's
don't
interesting
change.
to see this and to watch this. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. This one, these typically include the tank. Now, most Genesis-style atomizers are rebuildable, okay, and they are a little bit more advanced for a beginning vapor. So again, this is something you might want to think about after you've gained some experience with vaping. So one of the next types of devices that we could screw onto our power source is
stop for a second.
the
Because
cartomizer.
we should talk
All right?
about that. I wish that you could go back. I wish you could go back a little bit and show the size of the hole in the 𝗬𝗨 Pro.
Yep.
I
think I can
because
bring it
back then, that hole, everybody said it was too loose.
Yeah.
It was too loose. I mean, this is the history of vaping, guys, right? And like I said, I wish we could go back and we could see the size of that hole, but that was too
Still has a
loose
heating
for
coil in
most people, right?
I'm trying to see if I can. I'm trying to see if I can. Hold on a second. I'm just going to mute it. Go ahead. Talk.
Okay, so that was too loose. So this was right before the time, or maybe at the time, when people started drilling that out because they wanted more airflow, more airflow, more airflow. And then we went to direct lung, restricted direct lung and direct lung, right? But that one right there, that was one of the biggest holes on the market, that little tiny 𝗬𝗨 Pro hole that you saw there.
There you go.
Here it comes. Yep, there it is.
There you go.
Look at the size of that, right? Imagine that people complained then that was too much airflow.
Yeah, we literally have atomizers that have 16 holes on each side right now. So yeah, pretty interesting times. And not for nothing, I agree with him that it was too big at the time. Like for the Z Pro, it was too loose for me, but you needed to get some airflow because that mesh would overheat. All right, back to the video.
All right, but it also has some filler material that's wrapped around that heating coil. All right, and that filler material allows you to fill this with e-liquid by soaking e-liquid into that filler material. So you wind up getting a lot more vape time than just by dripping into an atomizer. Okay, and again, these cartomizers come in different shapes, different finishes. Some of them are even the mega size that hold even more e-liquid for you. But they all basically work very, very similar in that there's a heating coil that's surrounded by some filler material, okay? And these cartomizers are also very popular because you could use them in carto tanks. And the carto tank is just something that you put a cartomizer in, and that cartomizer needs to either come pre-punched or you punch or slot it yourself, meaning that you put some holes on the side of it. The e-liquid surrounds that cartomizer and soaks into it from those holes or slots, and then you get even more vape time because of all that e-liquid that's surrounding your carto. And that's what I have in here.
And right there, what you're seeing and hearing, right, is the birth of every modern tank that we have today, right? Because if you think about it, every modern tank is the same thing as a carto tank. It's a coil. The coil has holes in it. The liquid goes through the fill material, winds up at the coil, and vaporizes. And there's liquid that surrounds that coil head, right? Same thing as a carto tank. And that really was the birth of every modern day tank, was a carto tank.
Yeah, and I think not a lot of people give credit to Most Angry Pirate. If you go back and do a search on YouTube, you're going to find out that the tank itself was born by American modders, American ideas that came up with a tank, and he does not get enough credit for that. It's not like China just came up with that. China was able to take these ideas and make them in a grand scale and cheaper, and it's like there was no engineering at the time in China. No engineering, okay? All of it was taken either from other ideas and stuff like that and made into a commercially viable product. And a lot of us were beta testers. There's a lot of product that came into the market. People got into their hands. They vaped it. It wasn't working good. We gave some ideas back. They changed it. They made a product that's better. A lot of times they would just release a product on the market, and then we'd wait for version 2, version 3, version 4 to be better and better. We literally were the beta test monkeys for a lot of these products that came out.
and we were the feedback. I mean, the reviewers were the feedback to the Chinese company, you know, along with the consumer too. But we were basically telling them for free for a very long time exactly how to make their products better and make a whole lot more money with them.
Here right now, and I'm going to go ahead and have a vape.
Okay, have a vape.
And then finally, one of the last major types of devices we can screw onto our power supply is a Clearomizer. Okay, a Clearomizer is similar to a cartomizer or a carto tank in that it holds e-liquid, and it also has some kind of a heating element, all right? But the difference between a Clearomizer and a cartomizer is the way the e-liquid gets to the heating coil. All right, so with a cartomizer, it gets to the heating coil because it's surrounded by that filler material, right? With a Clearomizer, typically there's some kind of a wicking system in there, all right? Be it probably a silica wick, okay? And that wick directs the e-liquid to the heating coil. So there's no filler material in there, but usually just some type of a wicking system. Some of them work really good. Some of them, especially those with the wicks on the top, need to be tilted when you vape them so that that heating coil, or so that, you know, those wicks can direct that e-liquid to the heating coil and make for a more fully saturated and enjoyable vape. So those are the three major categories of things that we can screw onto our power supplies and vape off of.
So, I mean, let's talk real quick about Clearomizers, especially the Clearomizer that I just showed there. There was a time in vaping when I had no idea what version Clearomizer I had in my hand, right? Because literally when you bought one, the next version just came out, right? I mean, you remember that. They had the double wicks, they had the short wicks, then they had the long wicks, then they had the heating element was at the top, and then it was at the bottom, and then it was in the middle. I mean, it was crazy, right? Until they finally got a design that worked really well, but still it had wicking issues, right? Especially when you go to thicker liquids, even though they really weren't on the market then. But it was really interesting to see how fast those Clearomizers changed. And once again, we were the guinea pigs with those.
Yes, I think the wicking issue with China definitely changed once. Boy, I don't know if I should say that. Once we started to go to China, we were able to take liquids from the market into China, which at the time did not exist. All the testing in China in the early years of vaping was happening with 100% PGE liquid. So now you can imagine if you're using a liquid that's very, very thin, almost water-like, all right? We're talking about 100% PGE liquid. Anything that you're going to build is going to wick, right? Because it's a very, very loose, thin liquid. When 50/50 on the market were starting to become popular here in America, those liquids were that you tried to use it with these Clearomizers didn't work in all cases, and especially when 70 VG came out on the market. When we were able to take some of those liquids back to China, especially in the first trip that me and Phil took back in 2014, it was easier for them to test a lot of those products out, and a lot of the changes started happening because the liquid. Now they figured it out. Oh, okay. Well, we need to get liquid from the popular areas and test it with our product before we put it out there. But at the time, everywhere you went, it was 100% PGE liquid that was testing this equipment.
Yeah. And if I could go back and just say one more thing about Clearomizers, I would say that because I'm showing narrow Clearomizers there, Clearomizers were also 22 millimeter, right? I would have to say that my favorite Clearomizer and one of the exits on my journey in vaping was the VivaNova. And I was a huge fan of the VivaNova. And the VivaNova
I have one right here.
Huh?
I have one right here.
You have one? Do you really? I know I got them back in Rochester. I don't have them here to show you. Yeah. Oh, look at that.
There it is, the VivaNova tank system. This is from my good friend Joe at iVape. Again, I just happened to find it here. But, the great thing about this was obviously the coil itself had multiple silica wicks. So you can see all these wicks that were sitting inside the e-liquid. and you're able to get that, the liquid to feed into the coil itself. Okay. And the other thing that was look how big the drip tip is on this tank. It's just ridiculous. Look at that. But what was really, really interesting and good about this is that it was top filling. Most of the equipment at the time, even the smaller cartomizers that Phil showed you, until the CE4 came out, you had to fill it from the bottom. So the fact that I could just remove the top cap, feel the liquid from the top, sometimes it would flood and all that. But again, we would take that trade-off simply because filling a tank like this was just so easy. And, and that's what you really need to have in a commercial market to make vaping available to the masses. The easier that vaping becomes, more people will adapt to it. If you had to do a lot of work like we had to do in the early days, of course, we stuck with it, but the majority of the commercial market wouldn't be able to open up shops and sell these products to consumers. And
did I cover everything? Probably not, especially since this industry is moving so fast. There are new things that are coming out each and every day that's just going to make our vape more enjoyable. But I think those are the major categories. So now all of these things that we can screw onto our power supplies all have different resistance levels. You can buy them at different resistance levels. Back in the early days of e-cigarettes, okay, we didn't even know what resistance was. We had this thing called an atomizer. We screwed it on. We had a cartridge. We attached that to the atomizer, and we vaped. And then low resistance started coming out. So what is resistance, and how does it relate to vaping? So all of these things that we talked about that we could screw onto our power supplies all have resistance levels. And they all are made up of resistance wire, like this right here. This is kanthal. There's also nichrome that's used to make these coils. And the resistance of this wire is the opposition that the wire has to electrical current flowing through it. All right. So the lower the resistance of the wire or of the coil, all right, you need less volts to get it to temperature. The higher the resistance, you need more volts to get it to temperature. That's really kind of why the low resistance devices came out, because before the days of variable voltage, we had like egos or 510s, and we wanted a more satisfying.
So that's really interesting. What am I talking about there? I'm talking about voltage, not wattage, right? And I'm trying to think. So that video, I looked it up. The video's in 2013. So did we switch? Did we make the switch at this point from wattage or from voltage to wattage? Keep in mind, and I know this is to me, this is fascinating, right? And I don't know how many people will remember this, right? But we never adjusted in watts, never.
Yes.
Until one product came out, and I'll get it. All right. It's a good thing I didn't have my jean shorts on, otherwise I would never hear the end of it from a Dimitri. Now you guys all know what that is, right?
The Darwin Evolve.
Yep. The Darwin from Evolve. The first device on the market that adjusted in wattage as opposed to voltage. This changed the market from that point on. Okay. Like I've always said that, love or hate Evolve, they have changed the market at least twice, right? They changed it from volts to wattage, and they gave us temperature control, right? So and it's interesting because listen to also what I'm saying. More voltage is required for
higher resistance.
Right? And it's the opposite with wattage.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, the way that you're explaining it here, I do want to add one more thing. You talk about kanthal and nichrome. In today's market, there's at least 20 wires that people are using between nickel and nichrome 80 and stainless steel and titanium. And I can go on and on. There's a lot of experimental wires that are being used as well, too, that I don't want to mention to confuse more people. But at the time, basically what we're using, nichrome was what was coming out of China, and then people started using kanthal inside those coils. And those kind of became the industry standard as well, too. The industry standard pre-made coil in today's market is kanthal or mesh that is made out of canthal, which in most cases on the sub-ohm tanks, that's the type of coils that you're gonna see in there.
Right, and this is also, I mean, this is way before the time of Claptons. There was no such thing as like, you know, Clapton
Correct.
coils and all the fancy coils that we had, right?
Correct. By the way, can I say your goatee there looks a little
Is it darker?
no, like this side here, it's a little bit longer than this side here. I don't know. I just noticed that.
I think
It's probably because where I paused it.
Fine vape. We wanted a more full vape. We wanted more vapor, more throat hit, more flavor. So because these devices were 1 voltage and we couldn't adjust that voltage, low resistance came out, and it got that heating coil a little bit hotter on these standard voltage devices. Okay, so just know that the higher the resistance, okay, the more volts you're going to need to put into it to get the same vape as a lower resistance device on a lower voltage. Now, there are some vapors who prefer a higher resistance device at a higher voltage as opposed to a lower resistance device at a lower voltage. Personally, I have not done enough of side-by-side vaping to really deny or confirm that it is a better vape. For me, it's very, very subtle, and both are equally satisfying to me. So now we get into variable voltage. What is it and why do you want it? There are many different variable voltage devices on the market today. Some of them as simple as a twist battery that allows you to adjust the voltage by twisting the bottom cap. More complex devices that have screens and settings, lots of different things to choose from. But what is it? Very simple, really. It's the ability to adjust the voltage up to give yourself a more satisfying vape. Also, the ability to adjust your voltage so that no matter what resistance device you're using, you can tailor that voltage to work with that Cartomizer or Clearomizer or Atomizer that you have screwed onto your power source, okay? So, I mean, people ask me all the time, you know, what voltage do you prefer? And there's no way for me to tell you what you're gonna like. It's really up to you to adjust your voltage to find your sweet spot. To find your sweet spot not only for what you have screwed onto your power source, but also to find the sweet spot of your e-liquid, okay? Because they're all a little bit different.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there because I think some things never change, right? And I think that same advice at the time is similar now. If you look at a pre-made coil in today's market, it'll give you a range. And most of them have a pretty freaking wide range, like 40 to 80 watts. And they recommend ideally at 65 watts is test spec. But they give you that big range because depending on the liquid that you're using and how hot you want the vape, it'll give you the possibility with today's devices to be able to do that. Keep in mind that before we had that option, we were limited to the power of the battery. So a battery freshly charged, the batteries that we use in vaping is 4.2 volts. But guess what? When you put that into a device and then you put an atomizer on top, you're not going to truly get 4.2 volts. It's going to drop simply because of the grounding and simply because of the surge every time that you hit the button. So we would get between 3.7 and 3.8 volts. So that kind of limited the range of resistance that we could use at the time. We couldn't use a 3 ohm atomizer with 3.7 volts. We're not going to give enough power to that coil to give us a good vape. So all the adjustments that were being made were again being made by, I tweeted today that I invite doctors and scientists from vaping that are anti-vaping that I see on Twitter. And I had a big conversation with a doctor today from the University of San Francisco where Glance is at, back and forth. I invited him to watch this show to understand that the products that are on the market today came from us, came from consumers, did not come from big tobacco. Big tobacco did not enter this market until 2014, 2015 was their first acquisition, and officially didn't get into the game until about 2017, meaning seeing them promote MarkTen, Views, and some of the other products simply because, A, they didn't have the technology. B, they didn't think that consumers were going to adapt to this technology. They dismissed it in the late 2000s, right? They said, oh, this is just a fad. It's going to pass. And it didn't. So think about Think about the technology and the innovation that has come over the last decade simply from consumers, modders, people that are really technical with this equipment. Think about all the stuff that has happened in this industry has come from us, not from big tobacco. None of that technology has come from big tobacco. And I think that's very important for today's scientists to understand that if they really want to understand how to test vaping for the benefit of public health and for youth as well too, the best people that they need to contact is us. Okay. A doctor said yesterday on a tweet that he supports banning open systems because consumers can put vitamin E acetate in their vape, which is it's scientifically wrong. It's completely wrong with the cases that we saw with 𝗬𝗲𝗪. I'm going on a little rant here. I'm sorry, Phil. But I think it's important to get it out there. It's completely scientifically wrong. It's completely consumer-based wrong, okay? Because this is not how consumers use the product. They don't take a liquid and add vitamin E acetate to it because they wouldn't be able to work with our equipment. You're not able to vape on a regular atomizer something as thick as honey, right? When you put vitamin E acetate into a liquid, you need a special coil for it with special wattage. You're not going to be able to do that with us. And ultimately, his goal with all this is to prevent kids from getting sick. So he wants to ban open vapor systems and only have closed systems on the market, which my third point to that is that's the products that kids gravitate towards is closed systems because they're small, they have very high nicotine inside, and they're concealable. So all three cases, if he wants to make on this particular topic, he's losing all three of them. And ultimately, the bullshit factor that he's using is to protect the kids. It's not even doing that. So it's extremely important for you guys that are out there vapors, talking to people on social media or having these interactions to remind them, you want to get good science on vaping, you need to get people like us involved. Not some scientist in a lab that's never used a device that just cranks it up, or people that from big tobacco or other, big conglomerate, corporations that surround these scientists and say, okay, this is the way that you're going to test it, because this is not how vaping works in the real world, in the consumer world. Okay, I'm done.
No, that's good. That's good. And I think you're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. I want to jump back into the Ecig Tech here, but before we get back to the video, I just want to point out a couple other things here. So the Darwin, right? The Darwin, first device that had wattage. We know what devices can do with watts these days. The Darwin went to 12.7 watts.
Whopping 12.7 watts.
12 points. That was the highest it went. So that was another reason, believe it or not, another reason why we went to wattage, because one of the promises with wattage back then, with the resistances that we used back then, so you can set a Darwin to 10 watts, right? And you can get a similar vape if you used a low resistance or a high resistance cartomizer or atomizer. Right, that was another one of the promises of wattage. Obviously, that didn't work out as soon as we started to get really, really crazy with the resistances. But let me just show you here, right? So I have two 𝗪𝗏 cartos, right? This is a low resistance. All right, we'll go with the low resistance next, but we'll do a standard resistance. Standard resistance 𝗏 carto. I'm just going to screw it into the tester here, Dimitri.
I think it's 2.2. I think it's 2 ohm was the standard resistance, maybe 2.5.
All right, let's see. 3 ohms. It was 3 ohms.
3 ohms, yeah.
Yep. 2.96.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, if I remember correctly, the low resistance was like what, 1.5?
1.5 was LR. I mean, that was the definition of LR at the time. Yeah.
And let's see. Remember, 1.5 low resistance. This low resistance actually is coming in at 2.
Yeah, it could be. It could be. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is low resistance back then.
Speaking of 𝗏 cartos, thanks to New Wave Dave for the super chat. I used to love dripping on 𝗏 cartos back in the day. If I could find them, I'd use them. Yeah, thanks, Dave. You ain't lying, buddy. It was good vape. Good vape.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. But think about where we went. I mean, the idea of like 0.5, 0.3, 0.2, 0.0 anything back then was like, that was crazy stuff. Yeah. That's crazy talk, right? And look at where we are now.
All right, let me move along because we are running out of time again.
I can tell you that on a 1.5 ohm dual coil, I typically like around 4 volts. On a 2 ohm single coil, I typically like between 4.3 and 4.2 volts. And on a 3 ohm single coil cartomizer or clearomizer, I typically like around 5 volts. So those are the settings that I like. And of course, yours are going to be different. Start off low and work yourself higher until you're satisfied. If you have gone too high, you will get a burnt flavor from the device that you're using. Okay, so you know, it's personal preference there, folks. But a variable voltage device basically allows you to find your sweet spot and really tailor the vape to how you want it. Now, since we're talking about variable voltage, I want to talk real quick about a common misconception when it comes to variable voltage devices and your settings. This was something that I was confused about too when I first got into this, all right? And to talk about this, we're going to have to understand something about Ohm's law, okay? And we're going to talk about this too when we get to variable wattage or
Coleslaw? What are we talking about coleslaw?
variable power devices. What is Ohm's law? Ohm's law, according to Wikipedia, states that the current through a conductor between 2 points is directly proportional to the potential difference across the 2 points. Introducing the constant of proportionality, the resistance, one arrives at the usual mathematical equation that describes this relationship. Current equals voltage divided by resistance. This may lead some of you to a WTF moment. Don't sweat it, okay? We just need to understand a little bit about this. And there are websites and there are even Android programs that do these calculations for you. Just got to plug in the numbers, okay, and it will come up with the calculations for you. Two really good websites that I found are these two. You'll find them in the description of this video as well, okay? So don't sweat these numbers or these calculations, but it's good to understand what's going on behind the scenes a little bit. So, using Ohm's law and a variation of Ohm's law, we know that the current equals the voltage divided by resistance. We also know that the power equals the voltage squared divided by the resistance. So, let's say we like that 3 ohm carto or 3 ohm atomizer at 5 volts. If we run the numbers, we come up with that 5 volts against the 3 ohm carto or Clearo or atomizer gives us a total of 1.67 amps. Okay, so that would be the current, and 8.33 watts. All right, now let's say we're going to save some battery life, right? So we're going to use a 1.5 ohm at 4 volts. But when we do the calculations, we come up with some different numbers here. We come up with, at this voltage and this ohm level, we're actually pushing 2.67 amps and 10.67 watts. So the battery is actually working harder at this lower setting with this lower resistance carto, Clearo, or atomizer than it is at this higher setting with this higher resistance carto, Clearo, or atomizer. All right, so.
And I know some people will disagree with that. I still believe that does run the battery down a little bit faster.
Absolutely.
We could go.
I don't think there's any argument
forward
that.
through some of this, some of that stuff. We can fast forward through some of that stuff. But I truly believe that vaping, right? Vaping taught Ohm's law to more people than school ever did.
Yes, absolutely. One of my most popular videos back in the day, when we were popular, was the explanation between wattage and voltage, and in that video, in short, what I was hinting at is basically driving a car that has a cruise control. Okay, so when I'm in the car and I want to maintain 55 miles an hour, I'll adjust it with my gas pedal to maintain there. But if I put the cruise control at 55, it's going to stick it on there. So it's basically finding what wattage you like to vape at. With the invention of wattage into the vaping game, what that gave us the opportunity to do is, like, if I like my heat to be around 14 watts, I could set my device at 14 watts. And no matter what resistance I'm going to put on there, it's going to give me that same heat to the atomizer. No, if it was 1 ohm or 1.5 ohm or 2 ohm, it doesn't make any difference. And Phil is absolutely right. The lower resistance you're going to do, it takes actually more power, more wattage to drive that power to heat up that coil, and obviously it's going to drain your battery, which is kind of funny because when me and Phil kind of saw this happening, we were trying to understand is like why were people lowering the resistance constantly? I mean, if you're going to do a 0.2 ohm atomizer on a device that has no wattage, but just a straight up battery, you're going to have to change that battery every 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how much you vape. So it made more sense if you're going to use a big battery device that has set wattage, and then you just let it run out there. It was just, even to this day, I don't really get it. But Phil here is absolutely right when he's talking about the difference. What wattage and voltage does is basically everybody becoming an electrical engineer when it came to vaping. Me personally, you know, I watched obviously all of Phil's video and other videos as well too. I always wanted to learn about it, but I was one of these feel vapors, right? I wanted to feel the vapor. If I liked the vapor the way that it tasted, I liked it, the heat and all that, I would settle down to that. I would go based on my taste and not based on what the screen was doing. So even though it was convenient, I think that the screen turned off a lot of people, especially between the 2017, 2018 range, because these devices were coming out and literally you needed a PhD to be able to operate them and get you to the point where you were having a really, really good vape. So even though we were going for innovation and technology, it took away one of the big factors that made vaping very, very popular in 2012 and 2013, things like the ego spinner, right? Which just basically had a knob on the back. You just had a very, very small adjustment. You can get it hotter or cooler. It sounds funny today, but that device was so simple to use that a lot of people tried vaping. And then when we propelled all this new equipment on them between 2016, 2017, 2018, even though people did buy into it, I think a lot of them were turned off because of the complexity of trying to get to the simpler time of vaping.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And Owghly makes a good point, and I'm going to speak to that point. By the way, Leah, Dimitris said he's a feel vapor, not a fill, not a fill vapor. He vapes by feel. That's what he
Although
likes,
I've vaped
right?
feel a few times, that's for sure.
Yeah. But Owghly says, you know, this is the smoker show, right? We need to get like up to intermediate because smokers really don't care about this. And I agree with you, right? And I think we are going a little bit too far in this show. But I also think it's fun, or at least to me it's interesting, and maybe to other people it is too, like where we came from.
Absolutely. I think that I think that the pathway to get where we are today is interesting, but it also, I think, triggers Owghly to smokers to understand that this product is a product that was born from ex-smokers. If you're going to take anything from this episode and look at this, is like all this innovation that you're talking about was created by vapors. It was not created by big tobacco. It was not created by these pod systems that you buy with 60 milligram nicotine out at the store. I think it's very, very important to understand where we came from and where we are today. And then maybe when we look back at this, we can also understand what mistakes we've made, because we've made a lot of mistakes as well too. All right, I'm going to bypass a little bit of the Ohm's law. Yeah, go ahead.
And I think this is actually part of the mistake, right? Yeah. When I start talking about Ohm's law and currents and wattage and screens and everything, I think that's part of the mistake.
Yeah.
I think things got too complicated, and I think we forgot about the smoker.
Yeah. And looking here at this video, it has means versus average. I'm going to skip all that as well too, and get a little bit towards the end of the video where you make some really, really good points. So I'm going to start right here.
That looks more like that of a flat DC signal, like the 𝗃𝗃.
Oops.
We need to, it will equate more to
I'm just
the
fast
vape
forwarding
experience of a 𝗃𝗃 at 4 volts. If this is in its mean setting or average setting and it's set for 4 volts, it will feel like a much higher voltage setting than that of a 𝗃𝗃 at the same voltage. I hope that makes sense to you. It is a little bit complicated, and I did the best that I can. Now, no, I'm not an electronics engineer, and there are people out there who are far more intelligent than I am and who can probably explain that a lot better than I did. But I did go to college for computer engineering technology, and I do have some background in electronics engineering. So there you go, folks, a little bit of an Ecig Tech primer for you guys to kick off the new year. Remember, if you have any questions, you could always get a hold of me at Facebook or off at tasteyourjuice.com. There was a lot of information in this video, and I'm sure at the beginning of 2014, I'm going to have to do this video all over again because everything's going to change. Everything's going to be different. Things are going to get even more complicated. So whether you choose to use the information in here or lose it, that's okay. As long as you go out and you find something that works for you and it's keeping you off of traditional tobacco cigarettes, fantastic. That's what it should all be about. All right? So, again, I hope you found some of the information helpful. As always, you guys, thanks so much for watching. I wish you the very best, happiest, and healthiest 2013. I hope to be bringing you a ton of reviews on a ton of new exciting devices and products. So until then, I'll see you again soon.
So
Can I taste your juice?
that statement holds true today as well. I mean, it holds true today. No matter what you're using to vape, if you're not smoking, you're doing it correctly.
That's the best device out there. Like, well, you know, back then, a lot of people always used to ask me too, like, what's the best device? What's there's no such thing as the best device. It's only the best device for you. And if the device that you're using is making you not smoke anymore, that is a great device. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's old, if it's new, if it's expensive, if it's cheap, if it's a pod, if it's a refillable, if it's open or closed, don't care. If you're not smoking because of vaping, I think you're doing it right.
Question, what was the ohmmeter that you showed? This is from Jan Parcell. What ohmmeter were you using just now that you showed the resistance of the 𝗏𝗀?
This is the 𝗀𝗪master 521 tab.
I think that's the one I use as well too. And Jan also asks, if everything is banned and we have to go to dangerous mech mods, we'll need sub-ohm coils. Well, I mean, Jan, I used to build a 1.5 ohm resistance on my 𝗃 with a mech mod, so I don't think that necessarily holds true. But then again, it really depends on how you enjoy to vape. If you enjoy to vape sub-ohm, you can do that. You can use a mech mod with MTL. We did it all the time before regulated devices came out. My first mech mod was a Prodigy from puresmoker.com, and I was using a build of 1.5, 1.7 ohms with 28 gauge, 30 gauge wire and Kanthal and silica wick.
I think the last mech review that I did it was semi-mechanical. It was the Foosh,
yes,
whatever it was. It glowed. It lit up. I liked it because I like lights. Cool. And I was vaping. I believe it was an Aries or it was some other rebuildable. And I melt a lung. I don't sub ohm, right? And I think the build was somewhere between 0.8 and 1 ohm, right? And it was terrific.
Yeah.
Right?
No, absolutely. This is all stuff for people that maybe at some point, want to get advanced into vaping, but you don't necessarily have to. Right? You don't necessarily have to unless that's what you want to do. Don't ever feel like the need is there for you. All these devices work exactly the same. When you look at the Juno Pod, when you look at the Proton, when you look at any other device, they all work exactly the same. There's a power source, there's a coil, there's liquid, in some way that all that comes together. When you put it in your mouth, you get delicious vapor to come outside. So it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. But it is important to know that a lot of the tech, I think that we saw in late 2012, as Phil had in that video, and what we see now, a lot of it has not really changed. It's just gotten better. It's gotten more advanced, and it has gotten more intricate for sure. But the concept of vaporizing e-liquid instead of burning combustible tobacco is a brilliant concept that we certainly should be appreciative to Honling for discovering in 2003.
Absolutely. Somebody mentioned like a device like this.
Jan is such a, she's like, until doomsday. She's like, you're such a Debbie Downer.
Who's this?
Let me tell you something. The fact that I'm telling you today that the industry, built this industry, what makes you think no matter what the government does that vaping is going to go away? It's not. I mean, there might be a black market, but it's not. Vaping is not going away. I'm going to borrow the words of Superbloke. Vaping is the future. Vaping will be the future. There's no doubt about it. No matter what the government does, there's enough people out there right now that can carry this industry going, even in the black market. I'm telling you that right now. There's absolutely no way to stop this. They can pass laws. They can ban flavors. They can make it difficult for people. But if you want to find vaping, you will get it.
Yeah, I think one of the problems there, I think, is the vaping as we know it, or as we knew it, right? I think some of that might go away.
Mm-hmm.
right? We're not going to see that. And
It's already
I
gone
think
away.
it's really, really unfortunate, because I think one of the things that caused the popularity of vaping is the fact that it's always like a new device to play with and try, and it's always a new e-liquid flavor to try, and it's always a new atomizer that
Right.
know. And I think that has appeal to it, right? It has appeal. Not to mention that you can find exactly what you want. You could find the color that you want, the device that you want, a tube, a box. Like you can tailor this to yourself, to your personality, more than you could ever do with a cigarette, right? I mean, I remember back in the days that there were like people had jewels hanging off their tank, and they're like with all different colors and custom. That's the part that if it goes away, it's going to be a real shame. It's going to be a real shame if we're only left with pods and tobacco flavor, or maybe a couple open systems and tobacco flavor. That's going to be the really sad thing, because we'll always know where we came from and what we went through, and the vape experiences that we had. We'll always probably be able to, whether we know somebody or whether we DIY, to get the flavor that we like. But what I feel bad about, are the people that haven't found vaping yet, right? And they do discover vaping, but when they do discover vaping, if it's in a form that's not as appealing and attractive as the form was for us, right? I don't want people to lose options.
Yeah,
basically what I'm saying.
I agree. However, again, I'm going to play the devil's advocate here, because in early 2010, this is the state that we were in. I mean, if you look at what was available in the mainstream, was a very, very limited selection of stick batteries, mostly tobacco and menthol flavors, maybe one or two single flavors like a strawberry or something like that. But the majority of stuff that you'd find at a kiosk in a mall was a stick battery with tobacco flavor. That was the majority of mainstream vaping as we knew it. Now, for us that wanted to discover more, we got on the internet, we went to ECF, we went to Vapors Forum, we went on Stickcam, we found outlets to be able to get better products. Don't forget that a lot of these people that we ordered liquid from in 2011, 2012 were just making it at home, right? They were just building their websites and up. So again, I think that even if that's going to be the only option left, I think it's still a catalyst to bring people into vaping, no matter what that look. Look, a lot of it's changed now, Phil. We don't have shows anymore. We don't have, that community aspect to vaping anymore. It's not the same as it was in 2014 or 2013 or 2015, even in the recent years. Vaping has changed today, and it's going to continue to vape for a lot of reasons that we can go over and over and keep repeating ourselves. But the point is that it has changed even now. Yeah. Again, I don't believe that will stop the vaping train. I think that the vaping train will continue. It might slow it down a little bit. It might be a little bit more difficult for people to get into enjoy vaping like we enjoy vaping, but I still think it's going to be around. I remain hopeful for that. And I just saw another 3 PMTAs being filed this past week, so I know that stuff will get better at some point.
Any flavored PMTAs going through
yet? No, nothing's gone through.
No. Filed.
Yes.
Yeah.
RJ Reynolds has filed flavored, and Fontaine has filed flavored PMTAs.
Any e-liquids been filed?
No, not yet.
All
right. Janet asks, who is the voice of the girl who says, can I taste your juice? I don't know if you want to know that story, Janet. No. But briefly, it was from the Howard Stern show. They were playing a porn clip where the girl was saying, can I taste you? That's where it came from. So it was really, really funny at the time. And I think it's still funny. Clip, yeah, I think it's still funny. I think it's funny. I think
it still works.
It definitely still works. All right. So, are you going to build something for us? Are you going to show us something?
Well, are you going to open up your box first, or
I can, whatever you want to do first. It doesn't bother me. I can do.
You know what?
First.
You know what a good idea would be. Yeah. Is for you to open your box, and I could set up my close-up cam while you're doing that.
Okay, I can do it.
Right?
I can do that.
Is that fair?
Absolutely. I will move into this camera here. Man, I love. There used to be a day. I don't know. Am I the only one that used to love getting vape mail? And you know, before the vape shops were mainstream here in America, you know, you had to order your stuff, you had to, you know, track your package to come out, and I was just always so excited to get vape mail. And when I ordered this last week, again, this is not a promo for this website. I paid for this.
Go to your cam, dude.
Yeah. I want to get my address off the thing before I start getting hate mail. All right, so all right, this is the box. I paid $35 for this box. It's supposed to have $150 worth of goodies inside. Okay, so this is mystery box number 24. They're numbered. You see this one? It says mystery box number 24. I know it's upside down, but look at that. Oh man, I got drip tips. It says throwback mystery box. Choose your box number 24. It asked for my nicotine strength, so I put 12 inside. So I'm assuming that they're going to put some liquid inside here as well too. Okay. So right off the bat, I'm seeing. Do you remember these drip tips? Here, let me open one up for you to see. I'm actually going to use one right now. Do you know what this is, Phil?
Is it a pawn?
It's one of these swivel ones where the top.
Oh, swivel. Okay.
Yeah. So no matter which way that you turn it, I don't know if everybody can see that. This is actually a 510 drip tip, and then the top part, it can change. And ironically, they're pink. I can't make this shit up. All right, I'm gonna put one in my device right now.
Did they choose pink for you?
I don't think so. These were all pre-made, so you just ordered the box and the box came in. Okay. So there it is. I'm gonna switch to my camera to kind of show you how this works. This is a great concept. I don't remember when these were like the hottest stuff. So basically, the drip tip, you can just change the little ball. That way you can hold your device upright. And you can vape at any angle, or you can just have it straight up if you want it like that. I'm just gonna continue to use my. That was pretty funny. Let me get this out of the way. Man, that's a lot of drip tips. I should give some of this stuff away if I'm not gonna use it as well too. Maybe we'll do something fun on Facebook. Facebook with it. Definitely a lot of drip tips. All right. This is the some flyers inside, e-liquid menu. I'm assuming this is from the shop. It's got some fluid vapor stickers, pretty cool stickers.
They're asking how can they get a mystery box? Are they still doing it?
I don't know if he's got any left. Let me pull this up here very quick, and I will tell you. Fluid vapor. It's right. It's fluidvapor.com. Fluid vapor with an E, VAPEER. And I think that he has it under sample. That's a good question. I'm going to bring up the website so you guys can see it as well too. Oh, there it is. Mystery box. Oh, there's round 2. He just put, round 1 was out. There's round 2. Let me see how many boxes are left so you guys can see it. It's out of stock. So I guess they were all sold. It was pretty good. Maybe they'll make some more. If a lot of people want to just click over there to be notified. 1 in 5 boxes has a high dollar item thrown in. Cyborg mod, DIYNA box mod, Velocity RDA. Wow. That's pretty cool. All right. Back to the camera. Let's see what else we have in this. So exciting. Where's my camera? There. C930.
Vape mail used to be so much fun.
Isn't it? All right. Another promotional material. This is for your phone. A little pop socket thingamajiggy. Okay, get comfortable here. Can't get very, very comfortable. All right. More drip tips. Man, I got drip tips.
A lot of drip tips. And almost all pink, too.
Yeah. It probably wasn't a very popular model. No, there's one. This one's I remember this drip tip as well too. These used to come with a 901 with the Empire mods, remember? Because it kind of looked like the Empire mod, so it's pretty cool. A little vape band. I'm sure this is Vapor Owl approved. All right, Vapor wire. This is Kanthal wire, Kanthal A1, and I don't know what it is. 27 gauge. Interesting. 27. I can use that. I can use that to build, Mr. Phil.
Build.
We have from Geek Vape. These are staple staggered fused Clapton coils. Combined together, you give you a 0.2 ohm resistance. Those I'm definitely not going to use. Let's put that to the side. We have some organic cotton.
Yeah, it's good. It's always good.
Always can use cotton. More drip tips. Man, I guess these drip tips didn't I guess when they were very, very popular, he ordered a bunch of them, and then
you got them,
and they didn't sell, which happens a lot. Oh, I think this is a mod. Oh, I'm gonna leave it. I think that's a mod. I think I gotta like you one. All right, hold on. Should I just dump this out here? Is that?
Yeah, because at this rate, the show's gonna go till midnight.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna dump it out. That's so exciting. All right. Oh my god. Oh my god. Look how much stuff you get. This is $35 worth of stuff.
It's not bad.
Huh?
Like it was like the history of vape right there.
Oh, look at that. Speaking of mechanical mods, this is a mechanical mod. This is an AV clone of the tobacco. Oh, look at that. A clone mechanical mod. That's pretty cool. I can't see the chat right now, so you guys are going to have to fill me in if anybody's saying anything silly. All right. I definitely have a lot of drip tips. I'm going to tell you that right now. Definitely.
You do. You have more drip tips than you'll ever need.
Oh, my God. Look at this mod, Phil. You know,
What'd you get?
Look at this.
What you got? It's exciting.
Look at that. It's a huge 26650.
Is it tube mech or is
mech,
it a
mech. It's a mech. It's some clone. I don't know what that is. I don't know what this was supposed to be. Look at that. It's a 26650 with a 22 reducer on top, and then it has a big 26 platform that goes with it. That's pretty cool. I mean, again, there's pretty much nothing that I can do with that, but it's definitely going to go and.
You're talking about mechs. How do mechs do in Greece at your shops? Are mechs still popular?
But the high end stuff is popular. I mean, there's still a demand for a mech, but I think that the cheap mechs, there's no demand for them anymore. But some of the newer stuff that's come out is people still desire it.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. All right, let me look what's inside here. How exciting. This is a dripping atomizer. This actually looks like it could be MTL. It has 3 holes on the side. This is really, really interesting. Ecig Tech from California. So there's a nice little dripper. It has really, really small holes. So you can actually make this into an MTL, which I'm going to try. I'm going to build that and try it. All right, moving that to the side. This is a clone. What's this called? Do you remember this? This was a high-end atomizer that was out in the market. It's like a Jenny, but this is a clone version of it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to see. It's kind of small on my screen.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't remember the name of that. It was very, very popular in the market. Yeah. Somebody in the chat.
You know what? This is actually a really good idea. I think more shops, more distros, or more online retailers should do something like this, because I bet you they have a lot of stuff like this just kind of lying around. What is that? A pen?
Tweezers. And more tweezers. These I can always use because I always break the ones that are
tweezers are fantastic. Are they ceramic?
One is ceramic. One is not. One is metals, which is good because I use these all the time. I'm just trying to get the cool stuff out of here. In between all these drip, look at this drip tip, my friend. Look at that drip tip.
Look at the size of that. That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy? I think this is, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I haven't seen some of this stuff in so long. I don't even remember what it was. Oh God, yeah. This is some kind of a. Oh, your favorite. This is the one that had the little ceramic inside that you build the little atomizer with a little ceramic cup, like a lot of the stuff from @𝗏𝗏.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those were a pain in the ass to build. But I'm gonna build some of this stuff just for the hell of it, just to go through it. All right, another tobacco. I think this is I think this is just a dripping atomizer from tobacco. This is another dripping atomizer from tobacco. Look at all this stuff though. It's still pretty cool that you get all this stuff. Together Best Corporation. That's definitely Chinese. All right, what do we have here?
Somebody said you got a kick. What's in that little plastic jewel box? This little square one furthest away from you.
Oh, that is a kick.
Huh?
It's a kick.
Is it a kick?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Look at that. I have a bunch of these too. You remember when we used to beta test the kick?
Yep.
But look at this hat as well. I can actually use this feel. Look, this is a dripping atomizer with a. Look how small the hole is.
There you go.
And we forgot about all this. The only bad thing is it doesn't have a squonk pin. That would have made it great.
That would have made it fantastic, right?
But I can still use this. I can build this and play around.
And now is the airflow adjustable, or is it just the hole that you got?
That's it. That's what you get. Let me get a device and put it on there, and I'll show you the. It's got a build already in it, and it's with silica. How long do you think the silica is? Probably about 6 years old. Silica doesn't go bad, does it? Look at that.
No. You know, you used to have a thing against cotton. You used to, was it an allergy or what was it?
Yeah, some of the cotton from this store, what I figured out was bothering me. A lot of these blends that are out here now, they don't. It'd give me a dry throat. That's basically what it did. It was like it'd give me like a scratchy throat feeling. So silica, silica wire. I mean silica rope. That's pretty interesting. All right. This is. Oh, I actually needed this. It's a USB cable, but a regular USB. All right, the Triton Rta System. I think everybody has seen this. Basically, the rebuildable system for the Triton kit. We saw the 𝗃. The 𝗃 is actually a module that you entered into a mechanical tube to make it variable wattage. A little 𝗃𝗽𝗀𝗏 coiling kit. 𝗃K𝗽𝗲𝗏𝗏, another dripping atomizer.
When you say coiling kit, is that a little coiling tool?
Yeah, a little coiling tool. Yeah.
Oh, that's good because your coils suck.
Yeah,
so you need all the help you can get. Really, that's good. I'm glad you got that.
I'm using your tool now, so there's another dripping atomizer. Definitely a lot of dripping atomizers. I think Rob went really, really heavy on these. Another 𝗃𝗽𝗏𝗏 dripping atomizer. I'm gonna do a giveaway. Look at this drip tip. Look at that, baby. I mean, these drip tips are. You know, I understand how he's feeling because when I used to work at Mountain Oak Vapors, I used to get these deals and used to buy all these drip tips from China when they came in. But people actually did come in and used to use these 510 because they buy them for their tanks, you know, stuff like that. So everybody wanted to color coordinate. And then when the 810 came out and all that stuff, all these kind of become obsolete because there's not a lot of atomizers on the market except the Nautilus for 3 years that took a 510 drip tip. So if you had ordered all this stuff in from China and all of a sudden it becomes obsolete, you can't sell it. People don't buy them like they used to. Oh, look at that. Another little dripping. I definitely can use this one as well, too. Little mouth-to-lung atomizer. All right, what's this? This is so exciting.
What is that?
I don't know. There's nothing on the box. Oh. It's Jenny knockoff of the 𝗵𝗲 atomizer. Yeah, that's exactly what that is. Fun. All right, move it along. What is this? This is another coiling rod, like the one that you use to make coils.
Oh, is that? It looks like. Is that a coil master?
Yeah. No, this one's from 𝗃𝗃𝗏𝗏, but it's basically the same thing. It's where you wrap the little wire inside, and then there's a little tool.
Fantastic. I still use mine all the time. Love it.
This little mechanical mod pouch, I guess, that you put your mod inside, and then you hang it from your belt. Let's see what's inside this. What is this?
What's that?
I don't know. It's remember these?
What is that?
Well, you screw on your ego tank to look at the resistance.
Yeah. There you go. It's a resistance tester.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? A resistance meter. Man, this one actually has a built-in battery. It looks like it was a power bank that was made into this, and it has a little charging coil that goes along with it.
There you go.
That's pretty cool.
You just saw me use one tonight, and now you got one too.
I can definitely use that. All right, and then what is this? Boy, that's a drip tip. If I've ever seen one. Look at that piece. All right, drip tips. I don't see anything. Oh, look at this drip. I remember these as well too when they first came out. I don't know how anybody could use this. I didn't understand the concept at the time as well too. But look at that. That is 510 on the bottom. And then look how huge it is on top. It's like you're putting a tailpipe in your mouth. It's crazy.
What is that?
It's a drip tip.
Oh, that's a drip tip. Okay.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me switch to this camera here. I'm going to use it just to show you. All right. So look. It's just ridiculous. It really is like you got a tailpipe in your mouth.
You know what? Look, I'm still bent out of shape that drip tips got so damn short that you have to put the entire atomizer in your mouth, you know, before.
Short and stout. All right. So, and then I got a bottle of liquid here. This is...
Did we see what was in the little velvet pouch?
No, I'm keeping that for last. It's going to be the big reveal. Fluid Reserve. 50/50, 12 milligram. Great. So at least they listened to my 12 milligram request. So I'm going to try that. I just want to make sure I didn't leave anything out. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then we have the little velvet pouch. Let's see what's inside here. So exciting.
What is it? What is it?
It's a cyborg.
Oh, you got one.
Look at that.
That's pretty cool.
And you know what?
What?
This is an upgraded version. I don't have this version. I'm going to show you why. Hold on just a second.
You know, I remember when the Cyborg came out. I remember interviewing him on the Cyborg at one of the shows. You know, it was fun back then because, you know, you would go to a show and there would be like 1 or 2 or 3 like really, really cool things, and you would hunt down the guy who either manufactured it or who created it, you know, and you would interview them, and it was exciting.
Cool.
It was exciting stuff.
So let me show you the difference, okay? This is my original Cyborg, all right? It has a DNA 25, I think it was on this one, or DNA 20. And I have the 𝗃𝗽𝗲 little adjustable thing on the bottom that eventually was used on the Evic, so you can put an 18350 or an 18650 in it. But if you look at my top cap, it's beveled. It's not flat. So if you put a 22 millimeter tank on, it doesn't look good. This one is actually flat on top. So that's the difference between that board and this one over here. So it's a nice little piece to add to my collection. And I'm going to put a battery and vape on it.
Nice.
So that was my mystery box from Fluid Vapor. A lot of flashback stuff here for sure, and pretty cool, pretty exciting. Switch over to you.
Exciting stuff. All right. So we talked about cartomizers tonight. We talked about carto tanks. So let's punch a carto. Let's punch a carto. Get it in a tank. Get it working, and let's vape it. What do you think? You want to do that?
I'm very, very excited. I want to see, because I never was able to get my carto tank to use to be used good. Never. I was never good at punching cartos and getting carto. They always flooded on me, always, constantly. And you know, maybe it's because I'm impatient, but and I really like the flavor of dripping. But once people see the struggles, then maybe you'll understand why I wasn't too excited to do it.
Yeah. Now, what I originally wanted to do is I wanted to use this carto tank right here. This is a 𝗃𝗃. I have another one right over here. Okay. And this was, back in the day, this was the thing to have. This was the carto tank to have. And here's why. If you take a look at it, the bottom looks like it's like recessed, right? Why did they do that? Here's why they did that. Because this was made for this. Right, the original ProVary, because when you put stuff on here, because of the slant, it didn't look right, right? So they did this recess so that when you put it on, look at that, right? This was the shit back then, right? And I was a very, very big 𝗃𝗃 fan. So here's the 𝗃𝗃 carto punch right there. This is a Privé, I think. So anyway, here's what we would do. We would take the cartomizer here. You got to take the condoms off, right? This is what we call it, condoms. These appear to be stuck on here really good. So we'll take the condoms off. We'll take that top little piece, right? Because this was the mouthpiece. These weren't designed to be used as for carto tanks. What we had to do is we had to go like this. We had to line it up and figure out where we're going to put the punch. Right, and I'm going to put this punch right about there. Is my marker going to work?
By the way, question from Angela: what was the wick material we used for a while that came out from hairstyling salons? That would be rayon.
Yes, rayon.
Boxes. By the way, I don't have a nipple top battery.
You don't have a what?
A nipple top battery.
Ah, that was my problem. That's why I couldn't use this, because I didn't have an AWIMR here.
Such a bummer.
All right, so I'm looking for the little punch that I made, or the little mark that I made. It's right there. That's what this little hole is there for, that little window. And now I'll just take this and I'll start turning it until it breaks through the cartomizer, just like that. All right.
That's unbelievable.
I'll take this, I'll spin it around, line up the hole that I just made in this window.
And by the way, before those tools came out, you'd use, a nail or Dremel or whatever you'd find, until people, again, from the industry decided this would be an easier way to do it. Let's just create a tool that does specifically this purpose.
Right. And if people know me, right, and if people know me from back in the cartomizer days, right, I never punched, I slotted. right? I always used the Dremel, and I would slot my my cartos because I didn't want them to crush, just like you see that one did, right? So now you take this. I don't know how good these O-rings are. I guess we'll find out. And you just kind of push it in there.
on it.
There we go. It's in. So now remember, I mean, just like we have to prime coils today, that is completely dry, right? So we have to prime that. But this, the 𝗃𝗽𝗲𝗏 tanks were known for these little plugs here at the top. They're screws actually, and like even your tiny tip bottles, like here, this tiny tip on the #1 best-selling unsalted watermelon peach is not going to get in there. No way that's going to get in there, right? These were designed for syringes. Okay, so that's what you had to use. So I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with the syringe.
I have drip tips coming out of my butt right now, bro. I got drip tips all over my desk.
All right, and now I have to prime this. And by the way, it is a lot easier to prime today's coils than it was cartos. I mean, I remember all different ways to get these as full as we possibly could with e-liquid. Different things that we would do. The Terran spin was one of them. People would actually tie these on a rope and they would spin them really, really fast to get the e-liquid to go to the bottom.
I did that a lot when I was filling cartos. Absolutely.
Now, another interesting thing about this, if I could find a mouthpiece for it, right? Another reason why I chose, and actually, you know what? That doesn't look half bad.
It really doesn't.
Right? That doesn't look. And if you remember back then, everything had the pips. Everything had the little teardrops because everybody wanted to be a 𝗃𝗲𝗏, right? And this was actually designed for the 𝗃𝗏𝗏 because if you notice, the slant kind of matches up and the pips actually match up, right? Another reason why I used this and not, let's find another one here. Okay, so here's another carto tank, right? Take a look at that. Right? Why would this not work on most devices today? D, do you know why?
Why?
Because most devices today don't have air slots that feed the 510.
Yeah.
Remember, with a Clearomizer, right, you had to get air to that 510.
Right.
So that's why you'll see on this tank, there's actually 2 little channels cut. So I could put this on pretty much any device, you know, modern device, and it should still work without issue. So
let's try it out. Have you? You haven't vaped this, have you?
No, I haven't.
You haven't tried it yet, right?
I haven't tried. I have. It's been years since I've tried a carto tank.
It'd be interesting to see what kind of vape you get.
All right, so 2.19 ohms. What do you think? What do you think, pal?
I would go with 8 watts to start off with.
And I do hope that that carto is fully saturated. Let me go back to the other camera here.
Yes. You switch back to me.
I can't even tell you how many
exciting
cartos I punched in the day, back in the day. Yeah. I'm getting like 0 air from this, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not going to get the same air no matter what because it was completely different back then. It just was so much tighter.
I mean, could it really be that tight?
Yes. I mean, unless it's not getting air from the bottom at all, but I don't think that's the case.
Where did all the e-liquid go? I thought I filled it up, but it's like, I mean, did all of that soak into the carto already?
Did you feel it? What did you feel the tank itself, or just the carto?
It's tight. It is so tight. It's
I think it's tight because I tried it as well too with the 510 dripping atomizer, and it's just so tight.
Oh my god!
I think I'm
going to go to this because in addition to having my logo on it, it does have air channels that feed the 510, which shouldn't matter because the tank itself is feeding the 510.
No, I mean, look how small the holes in that 510 Atomizer are. This is the airflow that we got.
No, it's more open here. It's feeding the air properly here.
I can hear that crackling sound. So, what do you think?
I'm not going to lie to you, man.
It's a good vape.
It's damn good. Yeah, that was the problem with the other mod. Again, you know, flat top completely. there was no way even for the air channels on the carto tank to get air, right?
Yeah.
But this is unbelievable.
Who was the dude that did custom Clearomizer glass on ECF? There was quite a few of them that was doing. Who was the lady that was doing and that did the TSFA ones and the Vape Team ones? She was so nice. Kathy?
It's officially flooded. I will tell you that. Yes. It's flooded.
Yeah, well, you're sucking too hard on it now because you're used to the other stuff, which is another problem that a lot of it had. That's the problem that I had with Cartomizers. I would flood them. I would make them leak.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is way flooded.
Yeah.
And there's really no way to unflood this. I don't think you could do the blow up method. No. I just got liquid everywhere. Oh, I know why it's flooding.
Why?
I know why it's flooding.
Because you left the top open.
I left the top open. I didn't.
And it's sucking the liquid in very, very fast.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, I mean, the stroke. Look, Phil did it pretty quick there, but again, timing everything, like putting the cartomizer inside, make sure everything is sealed. Because keep in mind, you have not only you have the two O-rings that are keeping the cartomizer inside the tank. If any of those was screwed up in any given fashion, and air goes inside there, it would push all that liquid out. There's just nowhere for the liquid to go. So the vacuum of the carto tank had to be right. The way that you filled it had to be right. There's a technique for everything. Me personally, I never did I have. There was people would give me these high-end carto tanks to use, and I could just never use them, and because I could never get it to feed correctly.
Lollipop, did you catch it? Did you catch me forget to put the thing back in? Well, sorry, it happens. See, it happens to the best of us. Happens to the best of us.
Absolutely. Well, that shouldn't be a reason for Phil to go back to smoking, though. And it shouldn't be a reason for you to go back to smoking either. It happens.
Absolutely. And when it happens, just figure it out. Take your time, figure it out. Go through what you did. And you will figure it out. You will get through it. And you will not smoke anymore.
Man, some of these drip tips are nice. I think my wife would like these. Oh, this one. Nice little... Pawn wannabe.
No, it's definitely not as simple as lighting a stick on fire. I will agree with you.
Look at that. Oops, sorry.
You know what's amazing, Dimitri? So how old would this Bo'g carto be?
5 years. It has to be 5 years.
At least 5 years old.
Yeah.
Right. I could vape that all day long and be completely satisfied.
Yeah. I don't think
completely satisfied.
I truly believe you. I think that, yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt that even if we had some of that equipment back then, because we made it work, and you know how to fine tune it, you know how to play around with it to get it to vape the way that you preferred it. But it just should show you that even with the equipment that we have today, if you're not prepared to quit smoking, no matter what we tell you, no matter what we tell you to do, no matter what we suggest to you, it's not going to work. You have to be prepared to quit smoking. You have to want for the device to work for you. The vaping is just, it's a tool. It's an assist tool for you to quit smoking. It's like your support buddy, right? You have to want it to work. Somebody goes to AA and they don't want to hear from their sponsor. They don't want to talk to their sponsor. Most likely they're going to fail. Vaping is exactly the same. If you need to believe in it to work. And if you want it to work, even if you get the worst equipment in the world, you'll make it work because you're still not smoking. All right. Any questions that we have missed? Phil, telephone lines 215-383-5752. Anybody wants to call in? You got about 5 minutes before we wrap things up.
I love it. Costello and Rob said it maybe at the same time. Turkey bacon flavor. Wow, you guys have been with me for a long time. I think that was that Bo'g-gate?
That was Bo'g-gate.
All of a sudden, the carto started tasting like turkey bacon. And I don't know why, but that was the flavor that I got from them. That was the exact flavor that I got from them. And I started calling them turkey bacon flavor.
Yeah, I think there was a batch of cartomizers that had come out, and keep in mind that this is China at the peak of cartomizers, just pumping out product very, very quick. All it takes is one piece in the supply line to get literally millions of cartomizers or thousands and thousands of cartomizers out to the market, and people start using them, and then all these conspiracies that hasn't stopped till today, obviously. Drama, if you want to call it. That's what the Bo'g situation was. And then people were actually shopping around with vendors to find out when they had those cartomizers in, because they didn't want to get the batch that tasted like bacon or they were bad.
The batches, they were going for the old batches.
For the old batches. And some of them became valuable. Just, I mean, supply and demand. If you had those older cartomizers, you could charge more for it. And some of the stuff that we're seeing now with a shortage of pods, with a shortage of flavors, people are charging more for it. And it's just the nature of the beast.
And I remember all of these cartomizers that I had, right? They were all from old batch. Okay, so there was the old original batch that were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
There was the turkey bacon batch. And then all of a sudden they got better again, right? So you either had to have a really old batch or a really new batch. Otherwise, you got turkey bacon. But I am surprised at how flavorful this is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it's as flavorful as the newer stuff.
Yeah. I think if you think about it, though, your liquid really has not changed from back then to now. I think that's a big, big role. Like if somebody takes the liquid that they were using then and not the liquid that they're using now, probably will tell the difference. But your viscosity, your nicotine strength and all that has not really changed. Right. The type of liquid has not really changed from what you vaped back then. Simple 1-2 flavor combinations, higher nicotine, higher BG. And no matter what you're going to do, it's going to work well. I mean, these cartomizers help millions of people quit smoking, man. Right? So it's, I don't think that's going to change. Now, if you take a VG complex, low milligram nicotine that needs more heat, obviously it's not going to taste as good.
Yeah. The other thing that I'm finding interesting here too is the draw.
Yeah.
Right? The draw, because cartos had a very cigarette-like draw. It was that tight mouth to lung draw. And that's why I kind of went back and forth here to this, even here to this. And I can tell you that over the years, I do like a little bit more of an open draw.
Yes.
So this, for me, a little bit tight.
Yes.
A little bit tight. Right. But so now you have the ability to open up. Remember, no airflow control here.
Right.
Right. There's no such thing.
Right.
But
if you think about it, again, when we're talking about conversions, here's an idea. Why it wouldn't be cool, instead of all these pods that are coming out square and stuff like that, wouldn't it be cool if we had a round pod that was basically a cartomizer that you could, as soon as you got it, you can pull like a little tab and the liquid would just like go down and soak that cartomizer, and then you screw it onto a little pod system and you start it to use vaping. Because I think that standard draw of that cartomizer in a situation where it's user friendly could again help a lot of people. But it's like the technology got better, but it got a whole lot better for vapors than it did for smokers, in my opinion. Right. As far as the ease of use and the less complexity and the less choices. The choices are abundant now, but a lot of them you have to either know vaping, or B, they have to overcompensate with higher nicotine, or C, it just they become complex. A self-priming cartomizer in a pod system, I think that's $1 billion idea. And whoever does it, I'm going to come after you. I'm going to say, we said it first.
Well, why don't we do it? Yeah, and you know what? I agree with you. It's nice that there are all these pod systems, but none of them really look like a cigarette.
Yeah,
right. So they're all going after a certain generation, which I think is great. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
Right. But I also think that there's a segment out there that they don't want to look like they're using a Juul. Maybe they still want to look like they're using a cigarette. Yeah. Because I remember when I started vaping, that's how I was.
Yeah.
You would never in a million years catch me walking around with something like this.
Yeah.
Like never.
Right.
But as I progressed in vaping, as I realized that I wanted to review more and more product, I had to change. And I never changed my style of vaping. It's always been mouth to lung, but definitely changed what I used: tanks, big devices, small devices, complex devices, not so much. But we should still have those products that just kind of look and act like a cigarette for those people who don't want to look like they're vaping.
Yeah.
And then maybe they graduate to something else. Maybe they gravitate to something else,
Yeah.
But
Connie didn't switch to a box till like 2015. I mean, Connie was vaping since 2011, and she didn't switch to a box till 2014, 2015 maybe.
Yeah.
That's when she first went to. She was using egos or stuff like that. That was before that. She'd like the thing that reminded her of a cigarette. So it took a while. Now, of course, she loves boxes, obviously, for a lot of reasons, battery and stuff like that. But at the beginning, it was very, very hard for me. Like, I was reviewing at the time, so I had tons of equipment, and she didn't want any of it. She'd just pick up an ego or a spinner or whatever tube, at the time that was the EVIC and stuff like that was out, or the Inikin, iTaste, stuff like that had come out that looked like a cigarette. She didn't like the.
You guys can't believe how good this is. it's blowing
I knew
me
you're gonna
away,
like
man.
it.
It's
I
really
knew you're
good.
gonna like it. I knew you're gonna like it. By the way, I keep looking at the camera because our cat got out again, Leo. So I'm looking at the cameras around the house. Maybe he'll pop up and.
She didn't come back yet.
No,
He or she.
it's a he, and he's a rescue, and he got out once. He came back, but in this one he's got out. He hasn't been back yet. So.
Maybe he's tired of the stay-at-home orders, and he's just like,
listen,
fuck this.
yes, I don't blame him. Yeah, I'm looking for a gateway to jump out of the window myself at some point. So yeah, I don't blame him for being stuck in there. But yeah, just a nice little path down Ecig Tech and Memory Lane. It was very, very interesting. Let me go ahead and get this phone call in really quick. 317. You're on the air.
Hey, Demi. Hey, Phil. It's Big Willie.
Hey, Big
From
Willie.
Indiana.
Hey, Willie.
What's up, buddy?
Yeah. Hey, not too much. Before I say anything, you guys already know, RTA has been my thing since I started it in 2011.
Yeah.
And you and Phil were like the first videos that I pretty much came across, and sort of kind of led me down my path of, mods and tanks and everything. But just like you were sitting there saying about, my mother-in-law, for the life of me, I try to get her to stop smoking. And no matter what, I had all these devices that I would give her, and nothing worked for her. And then I ended up buying her an Enjoy.
Yeah.
Just, the mint Enjoy, and
Yes.
that got her started.
Yes.
But the turning point for her, though, was the Halo 808s, I believe.
Yes.
They were.
Yes.
So I would buy, she was a menthol smoker, so we ended up buying
90 seconds.
Was it Tribeca, I'm thinking?
Yeah.
maybe?
Tribeca. Absolutely.
So I would buy Tribeca, but then I would buy the Kringle's Curse. And so I would mix the two together.
Yeah.
I would fill up a 5-pack of cartos for her, and she could figure out how to use the USB to charge the battery. So I'd fill up those 5, give it to her, and just let her be on her own.
Yeah.
And she'd get back to me 3-4 days, sit there and say, hey, I need a refill.
Yeah.
And that works for her.
60 seconds.
Ignore
But,
the British lady. Go ahead, Willie.
With the pods and stuff, I think it some of them, they take out the experiment where, people who don't want to know about, watts or voltage or this, that, and the other, but are already pre-filled. It kind of takes that away from, the choice away.
I agree.
So
I agree with you. Let me
maybe
ask you
the
something,
carto
Willie.
days-
By the way, Willie's been
Go ahead.
in this industry for a very, very long time. He makes Big Willie's custard, which Phil has reviewed multiple times. But Willie, let me ask you this. I want to bring an interesting observation. Do you think that there's a portion of these people as well, too, that may be introduced to that or have that, and then us as vapors, we
10 seconds.
we turn them off from using it? Hear me out. Hear me out what I'm trying to say. I'm sure in your tenure of vaping in the last decade, I'm sure that you've seen people, and I've seen this multiple times with Phil, where somebody's using something and a vapor will go up to him and say, that's a piece of shit. You shouldn't be using that.
Yeah.
Right? You should be using what I'm using, because what I'm using is the best device. And I think this happens a whole lot more than what we want to admit as an industry. And I think that has driven a lot of people away from the community. And I think it's driven a lot of people away from vaping as well, too. Either because A, they feel adequate. B, they try that because now this guy's told them it's the best. And of course, it didn't work for them. C, because they feel like, oh, I'm going to keep dumping money into this. There's various reasons. Like if you pick up something and you quit smoking, that should be a celebratory time for all of us, whether we're using a 200-watt mod or if we're using Enjoy King.
Yeah, not only will other vapors try to get you to change the device that you're using, other vapors will try to get you to change the style of your vaping too, how you're vaping.
Yeah.
And by the way, Joe S, yes, Big Willie's Hawaiian cookie is very good. All right, go ahead.
Oh, appreciate it.
Go ahead, Willie. Go ahead. Your turn.
Oh no, I was just going to say that and the whole cloud thing that's still sort of kind of going on too have turned people off as well.
Yeah, I did, no doubt about it. There was a question earlier in the chat, and we can bring it up now. It's a loaded question. I think 𝗬𝗲 was the our downfall beginning. I'm on the fence on this one, Ryan. I'm going to tell you why. I don't think it was the downfall to our beginning, the actual 𝗬𝗲ing part, because there's people out there that enjoy it for whatever reason. This is the way that they enjoy how to vape. This is the competitive factor of it, building cores, testing the limits of their vape. I think there's people out there that enjoy. I think it drew a new generation of vapors as well too. So I think that the mistake was not 𝗬𝗲 vaping. The mistake is when the industry shifted their entire product line to cater to 𝗬𝗲 vaping. I think that was the mistake. I don't think 𝗬𝗲 vaping by itself was a mistake. I don't know. You guys agree?
No.
I would. I'm sorry. I would totally agree with that because and you said it too. You said what you said is key. I mean, really, if it wasn't for 𝗬𝗲 vaping, if it wasn't for the clouds and the cloud competitions, would vaping would it have gotten as big as it did? Probably not. Probably not. Right. But I also agree with we lost complete focus. We lost complete focus on why we vape, which was tobacco harm reduction so that people won't die, right? Yeah. We lost focus on that.
And the safety went out the window too, because when the 𝗬𝗲 first started, it was go as low as possible, but there was no, hey, do you know about your batteries? Do you know how to be safe? Do you know how not to blow your face off? Or, it was a combination of all those things all happening at one time. And the people who had no idea about the reasons not to do something, not having the information, and that doesn't help anybody when people start getting hurt.
Yeah. Willie, I'm with you. I agree with that. I just don't want one style of vaping. I'm showing you my desktop trip tips here. I'm trying them all out, but I don't want people and I really don't want people to say that it was the style, because all styles of vaping should be welcomed. That it was the style of vaping that killed vaping. I think the industry, by focusing all on this style of vaping, is what was the beginning of the downfall of the industry. I truly, truly believe that. And that gave the opportunity to companies like Juul to come out with a product that says, hey, I'm going to give smokers what they want and what they need, since these people won't focus on them. And unfortunately, the downfall with that is that they put a product onto the market that was desirable by kids as well too.
And that's interesting too, right? Like, don't forget the history of e-liquid, right? Well, when I started vaping, I was 18 milligram. 18 milligram became too strong for me. I went to 12 milligram. I stayed at 12 milligram. I've always been 12 milligram. I will probably always be 12 milligram. As I was vaping that 12 milligram, the industry said, no, you're too high. You have too much nicotine. I used to like give my vape to people at shows, and I'd be like, it's 12 milligram. But I'm like, 12 milligram, they could not believe it. Not believe I was vaping 12 milligram. And then they went down lower than that, and then they went to 6, and then they went to 3, and then they went to 0, right? And then here comes Juul, 50.
Yeah.
So all the time that I'm like 12 milligram, and they're like, oh my God, 12 milligram. Yeah. Look what Juul did with 50.
And again, Ryan and Willie, I'm going to tell you, there's companies out there that maintain that 12 milligram, but guess what? They were not popular. Period. To their downfall, I will say,
I will a whole lot.
Yeah. I will say, to their downfall, I'm telling you that these companies that maintain that line, they just were not desired by the vaping community, and in turn, were not these popular high, cutwood stuff that was popping out everywhere. They're spending all these booths, and it had 0, 3, and 6. I think that those companies took advantage of the market at the time, but missed the bigger picture in this industry. And the companies that try to maintain that line financially were not rewarded, and they were not popular in this industry anymore. A lot of them were taken off the map.
Yeah.
For the wrong reasons. It sucks.
And I want to jump in here too, because New Wave Dave, New Wave Dave, I swear, like every time we talk about sub-ohming, people think we're talking negative about sub-ohming. Where did you hear that? Where, like, I see people sorry, but if sub-ohm vaping keeps people off the stinkies, then why not? Yeah.
I think that's what we all have agreed here on this.
Then why not? I totally agree with you. I think
as long as you can do
that's what I said earlier. Any device, any style, any liquid, I don't care. As long as you're not smoking, I don't care.
Yeah, Willie said safely, absolutely. We totally agree, but it's not, what we're saying is that it's not, of course, what we're telling you right now, New Way Dave, is that if you're a sub-ohmer today, you should be mad because there's not shit out there for you anymore because everything is 50 milligram high nic now. That's the absolute truth. We can argue this all you want. Yeah, now we're seeing some MTL come back and people are making atomizers because it's the hype thing. So we're going to see 12 milligram come back. We saw companies that didn't have 12 milligram all of a sudden in 2020 are releasing 12 milligram liquid. That's fine. If it's going to be a hype thing that brings it back, that's great. I don't care as long as it comes back. What we're talking about is balance. And in every cycle of industry, any cycle of industry, what you need is you need new consumers that come inside and then they become experienced and then the cycle continues. But in order for that cycle to continue, you need to bring new customers inside. So what we did is we brought new customers inside and then we stopped that new entry point and we focused on all this cycle of vapors that we created. And that's where Juul came in and said, okay, well, since you shut off the spigot here, we're going to come in the back and we're going to take it. And that's what Big Tobacco took advantage of our total commitment to the sub-ohm culture instead of bringing new customers inside. Period. Argue me all you want. History books will tell exactly that that's what happened.
I would never argue with you, Dave. And Willie, you shouldn't argue with me either.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna sit there and say that maybe we should have that discussion about Demi's 80-20 rule. Agree with you 80%. We can, live with the other 20 that
absolutely.
You don't
absolutely,
agree with.
Man. Absolutely. That's that. You're listen, Willie. I respect you. You've been around for a very long time, and I think when we look back at this, I hope we're around 20, 30 years from now. I want to say that we were part of something big. I do believe that we had the opportunity, and I think that we still do in some fashion, to be part of changing the history of public health, and that is a huge honor for me to be part of, and I think for all of you guys that have been involved in this.
Yeah, that's all I care about, really. Like I said, I was a smoker from the time I was 16. And my grandfather smoked. My on my mom's side, they still have a tobacco plantation that our family owns.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been on all sides of it, and like I said, the switching from tobacco to vape, that's all I care about. I don't care what flavors they like, whether anybody hates what I make. I don't care if they're vaping. That's all that matters to me.
Absolutely. By the way, we're gonna do a good deed since this is gonna be the end of the show. 𝗵𝗲 says 4 years trying to break my wife from the cigs, several failed attempts and bad products. Thinks vaping is silly, even though I've been off the cigarettes for almost 6 years. Just haven't found something. 𝗵𝗲, just send me a private message on Facebook with your name and your address, and I'll get you something that's not silly and something that should help her if she wants to quit smoking. Okay, 𝗵𝗲, that's extremely important. You don't pester her and bust her balls. Don't bust her balls all the time about quitting smoking or give her every fucking device that you possibly. Women are turned off by that. I'm gonna send you something very, very simple. I'm gonna send you a beep. It's very, very easy to use. It's designed for smokers. I'm gonna send you some liquid. I'm gonna send you some coils, and then just give it to her. It has a QR code inside. She can just scan it. She can look at Phil's pretty mug while he explains the product, and just leave her alone. And hopefully that will help her quit smoking, courtesy of the Smoker Show. So that's our good deed for this week.
If you send me that info, Demi,
yes,
I'll go ahead and I'll send them out some juice too.
Look at that.
I can send 12 and 18 if needed.
Look at that. Willie's going to send you some 12 milligram liquid as well too, 𝗵𝗲. That is what this community is all about. And Willie, we appreciate you, buddy.
We do. Hey, Willie, I got two questions for you.
Problem.
Question number
Yes,
one
sir.
for Willie. How are you doing with COVID? Is everything okay? Your family, everybody all right?
Yeah, I'm good. My brides haven't given it to me, so I'm good.
Okay.
Nah, yeah, we're good. We're good.
And let me ask you about
Thanks,
New Wave Dave. Okay, maybe I just misread that, but no problem. So Willie, the Enjoy that you gave, was it an Enjoy King?
Yeah, it was the disposable.
Such a great product, man. Such a great
I tell you
product.
what, that Enjoy King was fantastic.
Such
It
a great
looked, it
product.
felt, it tasted, and it hit like a cigarette.
Yeah. Such a huge fail
I
from
bought
Enjoy.
them 15 or 20 at a time. And when I would go to the VA hospital for my doctor's visits and I would see smokers outside, I used to hand those out.
Such a huge fail. Such a huge fail from Enjoy trying to get into the vape game and making all those liquids. Remember all that? And they got away from that. Product was just excellent. Hey, listen, Enjoy has a good product. I mean, the pod that they have out now is pretty good as well, too. So, I mean, there's products out there for people to try. Not as good as, of course, the platform series of products designed by Vaping Greek and 𝗵𝗄 but there's some really, really good products out there. But we'll try. We'll try with 𝗵𝗲 wife and see how it goes. And then 𝗵𝗲 maybe call us back in 2 weeks and let us know, okay? All right, Mr. Willie, say hi to your lovely wife. I hope you're well. Everybody's good. Kids good.
Will. It was nice talking to you guys, and I'm happy you guys are safe, and everybody else that's watching on YouTube, I hope they're all safe and everything, too.
Thanks, brother, man. We appreciate
Ditto,
it.
Willie. It's good to hear from you. I hope to see you again soon, too.
Such a great guy.
We need to get back together. We need to start traveling and having a good time again.
Yes, we definitely need to go hang out with these guys. All right, we've said it all, Phil. Hope you enjoyed this walk down memory lane, all right?
Yes,
And,
absolutely. And listen, you guys who are watching, we do ask you that you please share the show. You please bring smokers. But you know what we also want is your questions. Okay. If you're hesitant to ask the question in the chat, if you're hesitant to call in, email me, 𝗵𝗲@tasteyourjuice.com, email Dimitri. I love pink at gmail.com. and
my email is @tasteyourjuice.com.
Yeah. There you go. and maybe we'll take your questions and answer them on the air. Yeah. Also, if you have ideas for shows for smokers, let us know. Okay, yes. Let us know. Maybe your idea will be featured in a future smoker show. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we'll be back Tuesday 9 p.m. Eastern with a DP show.
Who's our guest, by the way?
I don't know yet. I haven't decided. We need to do one just us, but I don't know if we're gonna do it this week or the next show after that. But yeah, Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, the DP show, and then the Smoker Show will be back again in 2 weeks. And until then, thank you so much for joining us. We'll leave you with this.